So,
You're recording or am I recording?
well, you can record. I think I've just granted you that access through there.
Okay, so I'm recording it now, so that's fine. And once again, I want to record most of our meetings because I think that it's better than having written notes. Because then we can go back. I just prefer to have things like this. Okay, so let's look at this and see what we're doing. So the date range on this is the full month.
That's right. So this is for the entirety of January. I think that we can actually see that the franchisee purchases exceed a regular level. We're to do the actual percentage on this. So this actually represents we've made 57% of the possible franchisee sales.
So that has, and given that I mean, you can see right now, unquestionably the leader is Paul, but you can see that even Roy's come back, and if you look at Malaga Bayswater, that's dismal. But that's as dismal for him as it is for us, right?
Yeah.
And then when we look at, you know, Dave and that's improving, but he's a long way off where he's got to be, right? And we need to manage these things. And Adrian needs a bullet, right? This is what sales management's about. It's okay to come and meet with us and all feel good, but it's another thing for them to get out and do what they're supposed to do. You know, James, that's, in my view, that's why we go to them. They don't come to us. I think it was a mistake allowing them coming to us. We should go and see what they're doing. And make no mistake, when you're away, I will be going to Adrian's place. But we need and want for these things to pick up. Now, in terms of the purchase itself, at 57%, what you're saying, Chris, is we're actually doing all right, and we know where the recalcitrance is. The recalcitrance is Adrian, it's Bibber Lake, and it's the Goldfields.
Yep.
And it just has to be dealt with. And I can tell you, Michael will be screaming like a wounded pig right now because we're refusing to pass through money. We're holding his money until he comes up with a definitive decision about what he's doing. You know, I'm tired of people not doing what they say they're going to do. And there'll be some talking behind us, but somehow we've got to let people know we're serious. We can't just keep saying, oh, you know, Adrian said to us, oh, I thought I was going to get a DCM. Well, you know what? In some levels, he probably deserves a DCM.
What's a DCM?
Don't come Monday. Right? But it's not our place to fire people. It's our place to remind them of their obligations. Now, we've got a pretty good process going on right now. And we're actually doing pretty well with that process of our stock. So it's hard to argue that our stock is not current and what's not used. And it's hard to argue that it's not, you know, a quality product line that is a matched product line. We can't argue that anymore. Every one of those guys is in that boat. Anyone that's not using us in our matched product line is actually warranty non-compliant. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's pretty obvious. I mean, we can look at this report. It doesn't matter, but it's obvious where the pressure's got to go on.
Yep. Absolutely.
right? And it's the beginning of the month, James. After this meeting, you must get on to Adrian and say, Adrian, it's a new month. What are you doing? Right? We can't have the last month like we did, and you got to ring them until we get what we want.
Yep.
Right? And I've seen what they do down at HHF, or, you know, and I know that's probably convenient for Adrian, but it's not acceptable. Not acceptable that he's doing that. It's not acceptable that Beaver Lake's going to Manili. It's just not acceptable.
No.
Yeah, I want to point out something else to you guys, just so you're aware of it. This is Goldfields report, month-on-month sales report, right? This looks a little bit odd just because of the way this is sequenced, but it goes June 2017 to December 2017. You got the January 2018 on top. You look at this: 60, 53, 62, 59, 76, 58, 41, 16. That's a trend I would draw both your attention to.
Yeah, I would say that there was I'll use your word there, Kelly, basically recalcitrance on Michael's point. Since he got the letter, he would not have invoiced the last week of the month, which would have been all the container ones, because there's no way he would have only done 16,700 for the month, and none of us are that silly to think that. And that's exactly what he's done. He's held back on his invoicing.
Well, or he's invoiced it somewhere else.
And that would, and that would be even stupider. That's not a word, is it?
Well, it may not be, but it's an indication that we have to manage. Whether it's stupid or not stupid, I don't know. What we have to do is manage it. We cannot, you know, you've got to look at it. It's pretty obvious what's going on. And Michael's been sent a letter as plain as decide in or out. If he's out, we'll send a letter to every single customer that's dealt with us in years saying that we'll be looking for a new somebody new to be hose masters in the Goldfields. It won't be as simple as, okay, good, see you later, Michael. It'll be we have customers to deal with and have done for quite some time. The argument that's being used by Michael to justify his position, I don't really care. It's subjective argument both ways. A subjective argument that I give to him and he gives to me. Who cares? What we've got to do is we've got to look at our presence in Kalgoorlie, and we can't just give it up and say, oh, well, it doesn't matter. We actually have good customer base in Kalgoorlie. Now, does it mean that we have to find somebody else to be that? Maybe not a franchisee, but maybe a distributor like Corrigan, right? And it could be like that. And whichever way we look at it, we're not just going to sit down and we'll look for a distributor, whether it's a franchise distributor or whether it's a distributor like Corrigan. But something will happen. We just can't let this stuff go. You can't just say, okay, well, we're going to lose $400,000 worth of sales, right? It just won't be that way. Does that make sense? So, Chris, we're all aware that that's going on. Thing that interests me is the labor. You know, the labor is quite surprising with Michael. So he's actually doing a lot more than just the containers. Would you see that? Do you see that, James?
Yeah. He is doing a fair bit of work on top of the container stuff. He's not been sort of sitting back and hoping that was going to catch on, but he is making some hoses. But he did say that December was very quiet, and that just looks very quiet. And I said to him, it didn't look right, but he assured me December was, which of course he's going to. But
well, you're actually talking about January.
I haven't spoken to him about January. I'm talking about December at the bottom of the page.
Yeah, just give me a second. I got a call from Corrigan.
Yeah.
Hello, this is Kelly. Hey, how we going? Yeah, we're just talking about it right now. What are you thinking? Perfect. Yeah, well, James goes away the Thursday, so it means that I can come up, I can spend a couple days there if needs be, and then I'm back in Perth for a handover from James, so that's fine. Let's confirm it, and I'll make sure that everyone knows, and I'll get some pricing out to you later today. Yep. Okay. Yep. Yeah, you can say we can have question and answers. We'll talk about the air seating hose, but more importantly, we'll talk about fluid conveying and all that. And we'll get into nozzles, and we'll say, really, we want it to be a fluid conveying center. Whatever you guys want, we're capable of getting, but we don't want to bring stuff here that won't sell. It's as simple as that. And I think we need to be that transparent. And I think as many people as we can get there, the better we are. And anything we can do to support you, we will. Right, let's get her moving, and again, it's keeping our finger on the pulse, and you know, from my point of view, Steve, every week you and I should have a quick chat. Even if we have a Zoom now that we got Zoom, we should be doing that. And I can bring James or Chris or anybody else into that call. That's why we do it, because it's way better than the telephone. It's a lot cheaper too. All right, mate. Thanks for the urgency too, Clyde. Yeah, it's the 23rd, James.
Yeah.
So I knew he was going to call me. I was going to call him after this, but that's the way it is. But that's fine. Okay. So again, looking at this thing, it's just to me, it's not about getting upset with people. It's about managing our position, and we must manage the position. We have got so much information that doesn't get managed. It's a concern, and we have so much that goes on in our organization that people don't take the advantage of. If you don't get it, it's not about pricing anymore. It's about cost. And people have got to get out of this idea that it's about price. It's got very little to do with price. Price is about money. Cost includes money, but it's all the stuff around money. Adrian picked it up when I was talking to him. James was saying to him, you know, you guys, you think you're managing your business. What you're actually doing is running around servicing a business. You're not managing it. And that's what's going on in our organization. We're not managing it. We're servicing it. We have the information to manage. And that's what we must do. No point getting upset and all the rest of it. It's about management. If people want to go, go. Right? It's pointless. Recalcitrance means resistance, James.
Yep.
Whereas we studied 9 or 10 months ago, it means obstacle. What's in your way of creating what you're looking for? And we cannot have the recalcitrance, the resistance, the obstacles that are there. And they're not going to change. Michael's not going to change. The reality of it is he thinks I'm the devil incarnate, and there's nothing that's going to change that. And, you know, whatever we say or do won't change that. It'll remain that. All we can do is manage what we want, and we want Michael to succeed as much as he does. But he wants to play this game of winners and losers. I don't play that game. You guys understand my point?
Yeah.
And so the point Chris made at the beginning of this meeting is he wants to show processes that they use in the IT. Business today is about information. And it's how you use that information, the speed, and how relevant it is. Information that's 30 days old is dead.
Yeah.
Right? And if we're not frequent, and urgent, it's like the reason why I sent that thing to Komatsu, James, not because I didn't know that I knew you followed up, but Anna handed me a piece of paper with those 2 cards on it, and I thought, blow it. I will send them something, say, hey, I'm back in Brisbane now. Think about us when you have a problem. That's why I did it, because I wanted to stay front of mind and urgent. It's management. You understand my point? When I go back to Perth, you can bet I'll ask again. I'll ask until I get what I want.
Yep.
All right. And the same thing here. We can see an anomaly. And, this anomaly is catastrophic. You guys understand my point?
Yeah.
Something will come from this. Something will change from this.
Yep.
And we have to manage it. And I'm glad you brought it up, Chris. So that's fine. Let's go to the next report, which is.
I think.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Kelly. Just on that, if you bring up, I don't know if you've seen, Roy did 25 grand last month.
Did he? Because
I was reading.
I saw that he'd increased. I thought 16 was quite good. So it was quite a large or significant portion of.
So where is he buying his product from, James?
He's buying his product from us. We can see that.
Not enough.
Well,
there's a big labor. He's got a big labor rate. If you look at his sheet.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. I'd say Roy's almost perfect. Right. So.
He's come back into line after we had our conversation, right?
Absolutely, and that's I don't know where this has come from. It's just I did a report last night on it. The date completed.
Day completed. All right. So he might have some hangovers, James. Hangovers into the following month. So that's the day completed. But yeah, you can see.
There. So there's a couple been moved.
Large portion of it is labor, but I would say as we're looking at this report, so this is his materials, right? We got right there. That's an interesting sequence of the same jobs.
That was 8 trucks of the T1 I was telling you about, Kelly.
Okay.
Yeah. But if you look, so his materials is 14.9, right? And then you look at this report here, right? You can see a little bit higher than that because I think it's based.
I'm happy that Roy's got a lot of labor because it means that he'll get out of debt faster.
But it was just interesting. This report shows that what we've been doing in the last couple of months, Kelly, with the stock and everything else, the zero stock is working, and these guys up at the top need, if they just jumped on board with this, they'll see a big difference.
Well, and the other thing is, if you have a look at Mandra, according to him, he did 20,000 in this report here, so he's got some hangover as well.
Well, that's a good question because I spoke to Mick just yesterday, and he said he was in the mid-20s. So let's look at his date invoiced. It'll be fairly similar. So 21. So he had quite a lot of labor.
Yeah,
he had some big jobs on there. Well, he had that big job. It was an all-day job, remember, Kelly, with that air brake.
But once again, I'm happy to see that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But we can also see what we're saying because both of those guys, we've given the hurry up. Daryl's got to have a hurry up. People have got to have a hurry up, and it's got to be through management, not through belligerence. We can't be pounding people and saying you've got to do this. You have to take it, James?
Yeah, it's a non-number. Just 2 secs. Good afternoon, Housemasters. James speaking.
Okay, Chris, let's get on to the product. It's like we can see that where we're starting to see shift, but we know where the real big shift's going to come from, and it's got to happen.
Yeah. All right. So we've got this report here. I would say that as we're looking at our purchase numbers, there's just a lot of zeros through here.
Okay, so you've got 140 different lines, right, Chris?
140 lines, that's right.
Okay.
Or 139.
I think if you did if you sorted that, you'd see that there's 91 products that were used in that month. So if you sort the zeros, you're going to see 91 of the 140 were used.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you get rid of the zeros.
Yeah. So they're all here.
Okay, so where do they come in at?
You're right. It's at 91.
Okay, so now you've got 91, which tells me that we're not so bad when we look at it. If we actually had everyone buying from us, I think you'd find that those zeros would go away.
The zeros are the stock we've used of ours, isn't it?
That's right.
It may be or it may not be. But we're now up to 91 line items that we're using in their stock lines. But 0 of the 5,000, you know, those are things that have got to be managed. When we start to look at that, you can see the stuff that's not selling. So it's possible it could be that way. But it looks to me that we're not so far away with the products we have.
Yeah.
So we've used 91. So what's that? That's 65% of the con stock.
No, the con stock consists of about 250 products.
Well, why do you have 141 here?
Well, if you wanted me to include a report that showed all of the products we have in there, I could, but this report shows what we've purchased and sold combined together. Okay, so we won't get into that, but we've used 91 product lines out of zero stock. That's what it amounts to. And then if we looked at all the other stock that we're using, you're probably going to see that it's still not. We're still not going to go much over that 140, 150 anyway.
Which we're using about 50% of the zero stock line items. It's just that we've used up some of our own.
Yeah, I think that could be a valid argument, but it won't be a valid argument past this month. You know, because our stocks are diminishing. Anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, we can see that it's on task and it's stable, right?
Yeah. So, a question: how much is how much of a discount do we get off sell price from PAL?
75.
It's less 75. Okay, so this will give an relatively accurate summary. So this includes all the zeros. So that would have been our cost from product. So this number, sorry, is 25% of all of the total sold, right? So less 75%.
But what we've sold though, Chris, is at a discounted rate. So they're at 60s and 65%. That's not.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct.
All right. We don't need to get into that. We got so much more that we've got to get done. But the fact is, we've stabilized. Would we all agree on that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Now what we need to do is move forward. I think that it's starting to work okay, but we do have problems. Okay, so James, my question to you in terms of managing sales forward, we can get out of these reports now. We'll have a general discussion.
Okay.
Go back to your general agenda. We'll add to it. So you can see our key focuses haven't changed.
Yeah.
But we won't go down through that right now. What we'll do is James, you and Daryl were to have some names, 20 targets. Have we achieved that?
Okay, so since we've had that, we haven't achieved this week. It's intended this week that we will do all of them. I've spoken to all of them, Daryl, and I've demanded that it is done by Friday. That, with the end of the month, we've been flat out here trying to get times to everybody. Roy's put me off 3 times, but I've told him there's no more putting off. We have to do it. And Adrian's coming in to see me before the end of the week. So
Adrian needs to get his shit together and start buying from us.
Yeah, well, I'll have a conversation.
Rather than us doing all the thinking for Adrian, and these guys need to start. I mean, in reality, if you look at Postmasters is a brand, and it's a franchise brand. And what we do is provide it fully formatted. These guys do not value our management. They do not value. If we turned the lights off right now in Bibra Lake, and we turned off all the computers, all the emails, what do you think that does to them? Do you think that's worth what we charge?
Yep.
Well, I don't know that they think that. I think that they're still ginning around with the price of a product. Same with Adrian. It's time to stop fucking around with this stuff and get on with it. And what we do, our job is to manage the value of the business. And we can charge the prices we do for what we do simply because we amortize the price against the product. They have to go hand in hand. One does not go without the other. You guys understand? How can we pay for guys like Chris and what Chris does? I mean, and what Leonie does, and what Anna does. These are really high-class operators. Forget about these guys that make hose and fittings. We got high-class thinkers and operators in this business that get devalued, and the world is heading towards them, not towards making hoses, you guys. Now's the time to show management. James, you made me a commitment that those things would be done by the end of the week. Now, I never held you to that, and you can give me all the excuses you want. There's no urgency. I want those things done, and they must be done so we can manage the business. I'm not going to get upset about it other than to say you made a commitment, you failed on your commitment, get it done. All right? That's as far as I'm going to go.
Yep.
You can look away, you can do whatever you want. The truth is you made a commitment, you never followed through. I'm not going to make it anything other than that. That's, if we can't keep our word, what else can we keep? Right? And if it doesn't happen, do you know what one of the fundamental rules of something is? Fundamental rules around communication and around keeping agreements. And this is James, this is where you run into trouble. If you can't keep your commitment, you must let someone know straight away. As soon as you know that you can't keep the commitment, you must tell somebody. Then we can support it, or we can do whatever we need to do. But by not telling us, well, I mean, it's pretty obvious it hasn't happened, right? If it had happened, if it had happened, you would have told me.
No, absolutely.
And so all I'm saying to you is, if it's not going to happen, you have to keep it in your consciousness and say it didn't happen. Daryl, Adrian, Roy, all of those people have broken commitments to you. But you've broken a commitment to me. And all the way down the line, we won't build trust. The same thing that went on with Paul. We made a commitment, and every time that there was a problem, we told him. Even though the guy sung and carried on like a spoiled brat, we still told him. Right? Even though when we didn't want to answer him, we still kept him in the loop, right?
Yeah.
You know why you do that?
So he knows where everything's at.
He knows where everything's at, and then all of a sudden, he can. At the end of it, he might not quite be the same way as what he is. So, the only reason I get upset is not that you don't do it. I get upset that you don't communicate it so that everybody knows what's going on. That's what lets the pressure go. We've got to keep the pressure on. You don't think that I'd get onto those guys for you, James?
Yeah.
You understand my point?
Yep.
What's my point?
Your point is communicate more.
Yeah, it's like, if it's not going to happen, we had a time frame was going to happen, and it didn't happen. Now we've got to hold our meetings more regular. We got to stay tuned with that. I get that, so I'll take my licks. I'll say that we've all been off doing something, but we can't do that. We got to get focused and disciplined. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I know. Have you seen Carl and John?
No, I've seen them tomorrow or Monday. Well, actually, Monday. I've changed it to Monday. I'm actually going down Monday.
Okay, and those guys you were going to see very quickly, but you haven't. And I made a commitment that I'll go and see John, and I'll start to go through things. Those guys treat us with disrespect, scant disrespect, right? And we cannot accept that. We may not be good hose fitters or as good as they are at what they do on their service, but I can tell you there isn't one of the operators that we have that understands information, numbers, and business the way we do. That's all three of us on this line, and I'm finished with people thinking that their side is more important than what we do. What's more important is they're at the coal face and they're communicating. What they're communicating is not acceptable, right? Poor work practice. If I looked at Paul and I looked at all the products that he used with Patrick's, he not only puts himself in jeopardy, he puts us in jeopardy. You know why?
Why is that?
Mixing and matching.
For the previous ones, yeah.
On price. No, again, he's getting the convenience, and he's starting to get in line, and he's pulling us into line, and I don't mind that. I actually don't mind Paul getting upset because it makes us better. What I mind is hypocrisy. You understand? Saying one thing and doing another, which is what goes on in our business. We can't have that. You want to be the best, you got to be the best. All right? Chris, you got any comments on that?
I would just append to that. I think it's probably necessary that one of us is in communication with Steve. I mean, just looked at his sales. They're 13,000 for the month, and it seems to me only a matter of time until Dave takes him to the woodshed with those numbers.
We're talking to Steve every day, and
you can't help but talk to Steve every day. What we got to do is get a forklift and get him out of there.
He's actually out all day today, and he was whinging he had too much work. I said, that's a standard day, Steve. We need to do that every day.
So he did 8 hours and he started complaining, huh?
Well, to be quite honest, if it wasn't for Paul Abraham's filled his day of work today and yesterday and last week, because Paul can't get there. Paul's too busy.
Well, I guess all I'd say is, from when I spoke to Dave, it would have been 2 months ago now. If Steve doesn't pick his game up, he'll take him, get rid of him. So
yeah, what's interesting though, Chris, is when you look at that, what Dave's seeing is the improvement of the people we're working with. I mean, I went down there, I spent time with his brother, and his brother's gone off the dial better. Anyway, we can go through that. Let's just say that we've got to become more urgent in our communication. That's all I'm saying.
Yep.
Yeah.
Something doesn't happen, I need to know it's not happening. We need
Point
to
taken.
stick to our word.
Point taken.
All right. So, phone systems, walkie-talkies. Have we got those to be stabilized, or are we still working on them?
Walkie-talkies, Maria's just come back, but yesterday was like heads cut off. I'm sitting down with Maria to go through the channels that we use, and then they'll be implemented to see how we go with them.
Can you make sure that they're implemented and used by the time I get there, please, James?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Remember, this is your idea. Maybe I'm the cheapskate on it, but if they get better, we'll get better walkie-talkies. But I see no point in spending a bunch of money if it doesn't work.
No, absolutely. February is a test month, and that's it. It's got to work.
Okay, no worries. So let's make sure that we've got that done. So we got a commitment. Overstock stainless steel.
Just hold on 2 seconds, because there's something I need to say on the phone system. We've had a phone message to put on there for at least a month, and truth be told, it's me being lazy for it not being there. So I'll do that tonight.
All right, and then James, we need to get feedback on it because it's mine and Chris Boyce, but it's better than what's there, and we'll improve on it. It's at the ugly state now, but I'd rather look ugly than do nothing.
Yeah, psychedelic music's not good. Voices are better.
All right, so Chris, thank you. Let's get that on there.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, so the stock, I'm revamping all the adapters I've got in my mind, what needs to be done, and then I'm gonna go about doing it in the sense we'll do chunks of information. I'm still working on the zero stock, and it's still working into. To me, we're going to have to write off a lot of our stock.
Yeah. I want to show you something just around our capability on PDFs right now. I want to show you something which I think, if you're aware of it, might assist you in that process. I'm just loading up the software now, so as soon as it's ready, I'll show you.
Well, we're doing quite good flyers now. James, have you been using the flyers we sent?
Yeah, we sent. I'd send them all out to all the franchisees.
When you go down and see John and Carl, I want you to take a picture of all the R5 fittings that we have in stock.
What we have?
Yeah, the shit we have in stock. Just the R5 section. You know, John comes back to us and says about the R5 fittings, he can't buy cheaper R5 fittings and reusables than he can from us. And we got a shitload of them. Now that I sorted all those out, they're in one place. You get a beautiful picture, wouldn't you?
Yep. Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? I'll get Callum to take it for you. Okay, go ahead, Chris.
I just want you guys
to take it.
What this does is it extracts information from PDFs. You see that?
Yeah.
So I just took a PDF, one of the reports we were looking at, right? I highlighted a certain section and all that information, and you can see now it's in a format which can be reused. You guys see that?
So we can put it in Excel.
That's what we talked about when we went with Alpha Goma. This is what Alpha Goma's got. And two fit.
Yeah, so I'd say to you guys, a buddy of mine actually put me onto this, where law firms are using a similar software to extract information from bank statements quickly. So I can't see an application. I just wanted you guys to be aware that this could be used for a number of things, whether that's taking even something as simple as a competitor's invoice, taking that, extracting that information, then cross-referencing that to the information in our system. That's the type of things we can do with our available.
Can you put this in an Excel spreadsheet right now?
Yeah.
Let me see what it looks like.
Okay. There you go.
You can't bitch about that, James.
Nope.
Right.
So how do we get access to that?
Well, you're This is actually an open source program. I warn you that one of the things that the issues with it is the nature of, or the structure of the data, because obviously you can do this with as many pages as you want. But this is the type of thing that we can look at with it. But it's an open source program that I've downloaded, and it's an application which is run locally, but accessed through the browser. Installation is very easy. If you want, I can send you a link for it. You can put it on your computer.
Nah, you can put it on my computer. I don't like putting shit on because I screw it up every time. But that looks pretty good, don't you think, James?
Absolutely.
So we can now take Carl's invoice, right, and stick it on a spreadsheet.
Well, I could already do that because it came from our system. But if you found what the competitors, like for example, if we wanted to get what a competitor was invoicing our franchisee for product, and then compare that product to records inside of our system, we could do that almost immediately.
There's something to talk to him about, James.
Yeah.
But this is the tip of the iceberg. Do you guys mind if I show you a couple other things I'm doing?
Yeah, let's get on with it because I got one more thing I've got to discuss with James.
All right. So this is Slack. Kelly, you're familiar with Slack. We're using this for a couple different purposes, but really what we're using this is primarily for is a platform for us for our communications. So, for example, we're using a project management system called Jira. Every time a task is changed in Jira, we get notifications in here. This is an example of the type of thing we're working on. On top of that, what we've been doing in IT recently is we've been developing a knowledge base. And the reason why we're creating a knowledge base is so that we have a set of foundational knowledge which is quickly accessible, right? So for example, how to create a new user, right? That's the type of information that we put into our knowledge base, right? Now, as we've got this information on hand, even using it like that's a bit difficult to parse. So we've actually found an AI tool which fits in between Slack and between Jira and other applications where we can ask certain questions and it can give a certain response. So if I show you, for example, how to deactivate a product, right? So this is the process I undertake to deactivate products in the system. So if I was to ask the question of the AI, you see that it returns the response, how to deactivate a product, right? Now, whilst this might be somewhat interesting for IT when querying a knowledge base and giving access to information in our knowledge base, what makes this particularly interesting is its potential integration across services that our entire business uses. And so what's interesting about Ovie is you can actually perform integration across things like Google Drive, which we use for part of our business intelligence, across and also Dropbox. And so effectively what I'm saying is that if we wanted to, we could have a Slack channel which everyone had access to, and then they could use an AI to query records from Dropbox and Google Drive instead of having it on J Drive, which no one accesses.
So what you're saying is the place you go to is our Slack. So Postmasters Slack, and
yep.
They can do a query in that, and it would search all of our documents.
Exactly, and I would liken it to a Google search for our internal records. That's what I would say it's like, because effectively
we use Slack, and then the AI inside of Slack.
That's right. The AI is independent of Slack, but it's used to connect different sources. It's effectively a bridge. So that's one thing I just want.
Who's Confluence?
Confluence is our knowledge base, right? So
that's we call it Confluence is our knowledge base.
Confluence is the knowledge base IT uses. Another thing that I'm doing, and I'm slowly building this, not as quickly as I would have liked, but I'm creating a service desk. I'm creating a service desk, not necessarily something to be accessed by our users at this time, but to create a record of each thing we're doing into the system. And the reason why it's important to create something that does something like this is so that you've got references if something bad does occur, right? If you have a problem, you want a record of it, right? And so this really automates a lot of the record keeping process. So over the course, I'm actually about to implement a policy saying any changes made in our system needs to be logged through this first. But you can see you can create different types of issues, and I'm just going to complete it in the last 30 days. I'll have to find where I've kept the records in the queue. But effectively, this is what we'll be using in IT to manage everyone's requests. There's things like email integrations where you can raise issues through emails, and that might be what we do. We just forward when we get an email request in through here. This is a very, very common function in IT right now. It's a service desk where the information can be stored. The reason why you use this with a knowledge base is because they integrate together so that when you finish a task, you write into the knowledge base or you reference a knowledge base article with each task. And using that, you're actually training the AI models to identify the relationship between issues and knowledge.
Okay, so James, do you think that's important for people to understand that we're not stagnant?
Yep.
Right, and so what we do is well beyond what a guy in a vehicle would do. But what the guy in the vehicle do is the evolution of business. The evolution of business is not fixed location, it's moving location. Right? It doesn't matter what your business is, it's been evolving to moving locations, moving stuff, everything in motion. And so the information is quite good. So aren't you glad I recorded that, James, so you can look over it again?
Yeah, I got lost about 3 pages back.
Both of us did, but that's okay. We can review it. Okay, Chris.
I'm very sure there's a simple answer to how to use it.
Yeah, well, the simple answer to how to use it is to use it.
Well, there's one final thing I want to show, which I've actually directly applied to the work process. Is Simon asked me to record one of the test certifications, and I just figured it's the way things are going now. It's too slow the way we were doing it previously, or at least it's not being picked up. So what I did was I found Trello, which is effectively a digital Kanban board, and from this, what we can do is record just different key dates, right? And this is primarily a project management software. What's interesting about this is obviously I've now got this. I've got the date that it needs to be reviewed. I've been testing notifications and things like that out with it. So you get a notification when it's time to look at something. I've verified that works. And perhaps the most interesting thing is right here, I've actually managed to merge it where it's on a subscription basis with my mail calendar. So as you can see, Monday, 9 a.m., Veolia. I didn't put this in here. I actually used a subscription which automatically updates that information. And so this is something we could, similar, we could apply across the entire business.
So what are you
saying there, Chris, is that if a hose, is that a hose 8349 came in when it should come in again, or when it does come in again?
So this is a job number, right? This is a job number, not necessarily each hose, right? And that date on there is 5 months and 2 weeks after the initial test certification, right? And so that's a notification that it needs to be brought back in for testing.
Which is what you set up in the Excel spreadsheet, which we started to do. But
what this does is goes directly into Simon's calendar and tells him as a to-do in his calendar.
Well, it hasn't yet. I need to follow up with him on it. But
well, what you're talking about is we do something and then it proactively tells you when you have to do it again. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. So it's that type of control mechanism. But what it effectively will do is, and the difference between this and a spreadsheet is that the spreadsheet labeled each hose, whereas this only labels each job cert number, right? So this is per job. The reason why I didn't go to granular detail is because I think it wasn't widely adopted because of the time it took to actually affect this type of reporting. So that's why I've only done gone to the data level of the job certification.
All right, that's fine. Let's keep moving because we're nearly finished our hour, and I want to stay true to the hour because James got work to do. Okay, so that ends the agenda side of it. You've got your side of it now. I want to go to something which I think is creating an anomaly in zero stock, right? And a lot of it's to do with all the panic around Paul and all the time frames. James, in the last few days, you've ordered a lot of stock that's been airbagged into the Perth branch.
Correct.
Yeah. And you've also ordered one line item that's in zero stock. And in zero stock, we used 24 of them, which emptied out our stock.
Correct.
And then you ordered the same stock. We ordered it through zero stock, and we ordered the stock again through just stock. So we got two. We're going to get two invoices for zero stock, and it's going to compete with stock.
No. What?
Explain to me how you did it.
Dave wanted 50 fittings. We had 24, so we took 24 out of zero stock. We then ordered 26 to come over straight away because they were going to be invoiced immediately. It didn't matter about being invoiced in the sense that it was going to be invoiced straight away. I put a note on Melissa's and Darren's and Michael's saying taking these 24 made us zero stock empty, and could we transact some? I spoke to Michael and asked Michael to get some over for us, which we haven't got yet.
So then what did you do?
I invoiced the 26 out to Dave.
Yeah, but you said he wanted 50.
Yeah, he got 24 plus the 26.
Okay. But again, it doesn't show up in our zero stock records. Now, who pays for the airbag and how does it work?
The 26. Well, this is what is in discussion at the moment because I beg to differ with you. It's not in discussion at this moment. You're discussing it, and I quite clearly tell you that any anomalies that show up have got to go through one place, which is me. The only reason I do that is because we have to manage the anomaly. And I can tell you right now, there's a few things that I know that I've changed in the background of what you've done. You ordered, and by the way, I don't ever want to see a draft order again. They're either ordered or they're not. No draft orders. And I don't expect to receive draft orders from my supplier, which I have done. Either you order it or you don't. We don't use draft orders. All right.
It's as simple as that. You don't need to alter an order. And when an order has to have an airbag on it, I want to see the airbag on it. Right? And of those orders that you got, you ordered, how many airbags did you receive on those orders?
We received 5 airbags.
5 to 6 airbags.
Where we should have received 2.
Yeah, but let me say to you, let's get the defensive stuff away and let's just manage the issue, okay? The first issue is we want to see the throughput through the zero stock. So that's good information for PAL as to what we're doing. The second thing about it is if it's in our zero stock, it shouldn't necessarily be you ordering it. It should be Michael ordering it and you using it, and let him pay for the airbag. When you actually say to him, look, we got a problem, it's Michael that's going to solve the problem. What's happened is we got all these airbags and all this stuff going on. And so when you look at it and you say, what did the stuff come in? Were they 1 kilo, 3 kilo, or 5 kilo airbags?
There was a 5 kilo, a couple of 3s, and a couple of 1s.
And were they all at weight?
No.
No, that's part of the problem. And what is the price difference between a 1, 3, and 5?
About $5 difference.
No,
between the two.
I don't want to guess. I want to know what it is. What's the difference? Did you ask?
Well, they just charge us. We don't know what the difference.
No,
prices are.
no, James. When you start to manage something, and this is the difference, and this is how I want you to think. I'm not having a go at you. I'm just describing what happened. Right? And I'll tell you what I did about it. I think we're going to have confusion on those into the zero stock. First of all, you don't alter that zero stock. You don't make that decision that you did. That's my decision.
I did.
No, that's not your decision. That's my decision.
I didn't alter the zero stock.
James, it's not your decision to do what you did. And whichever way you can justify it or do it, say whatever you want. Just answer it if you need to. Okay. I want to be very clear with you that the way you did it is eventually, you may have it clear in your mind, and I'm sure you do. But I'm also sure that Michael and Melissa are not clear in their mind. And so when we communicate, that's what we have to do. The reason I don't say it has to come through me because I don't trust you. I say it has to come through me so that we can make sure that we have a central point of information. So when you have a deviation like you have, in my mind, all of those fittings should have gone to Michael, and you should have said to him, okay, because there's zero stock, we've got this problem. How are we going to solve this problem? Because I'm telling you, it's going to create another problem. I'm sure of that. And the fact that it's a draft invoice is going to cause you problems because you don't have the airbags on those invoices. I know because I've seen them. Now, you might put them in later, but it causes confusion and it increases your workload. It doesn't make sense to me. The fact that you don't know what a 1, 3, and a 5 kilo airbag is priced at bothers me. Right? Because it means we're shooting in the dark and we have to give a draft invoice. Those are draft PO. They should be a PO that we can say, no, that's what we agreed to pay. But that's not what we agreed to pay. And that's why they're drafted. That's why we can alter them. I don't want to do that. I want to be very clear about what we've done. Now, when I look at it, one of the invoices I know was some adapters. I don't have any problem with you buying the stuff from PAL and the adapters, but I can see no point in getting an airbag from adapters that I know that I can get just about anywhere in Perth. And I get that it's convenient, and I get that we need to be loyal, and I'm with you on that. But what bothers me is they don't consolidate the freight. So every time you put in a PO, they don't consolidate the freight, and you have no way of controlling it. And you're the guy that looks bad, right? And the only thing that's eluded me to all of this is all the screw ups in the air freight with Paul, because I could see that what they're doing is inefficient, so we can manage it, right?
Yeah.
You understand my point? They screwed it up. Not you. But what we've done is we've played right in. It's poor management. So you know what I've asked them to do in Brisbane now?
No.
What would you do?
I'd ask them to hold the airbags open until the last order goes in.
What I said to them is, don't worry about holding an airbag open. What you should have in your warehouse as a bin that says Hose Masters. And every time a PO comes in from you, that's why I don't want it to be draft. Every time a PO comes in from you, it should be placed in that bin. And at 3 o'clock every day, you empty that bin. And so you choose whether it's a 1, 3, and a 5 kilo airbag. My point to you, James, is there's not going to be less airbags in the next 5 years. There's going to be more. And you could get anything up to 12 airbags, but you've got to get them to consolidate them. You should be able to place one order let them, and they shouldn't be holding an airbag open. What they should be doing is having our stockpiling and then creating whatever airbag they need by putting everything in that and all the different picking slips in that.
My request was to consolidate the orders.
Yeah, no, James, I'm clear about this. I've been following it in the background. And I've been following it because I don't like the way they do their airbags. I don't like the way they did it with Paul. I made a commitment to Paul that I would do 24 hours. Now I have to understand how I can do that. Now I know that they've got a cutoff of 3. If their cutoff's 3, your cutoff's 1. I understand that. And so what that means is it might go into the next day. Or if it's on Saturday, it might have to be held at the airport so we can pick it up at the airport. But we've got to get all those things in play. And we're not managing it. And I get that in the heat of the moment, you've got to get it done. And I get that that's what you're doing. But we have to manage this thing. I'm the central point. And I'm telling you, when I say to Melissa, you got to solve that problem, the next day they had a bin put in place where they would put all the stock in, and at 3 o'clock, then they put it into the airbag. You've got to think how they think, not how you think.
Well, they didn't do that yesterday.
What's that?
They didn't do that yesterday.
Well, what did you do, James? So you want to throw stones, mate. Don't throw fucking stones right now. Listen to what's being said.
I'm not throwing stones.
No,
you just said
James, listen to what's being said, please. I've only just got off the phone from Melissa today. I know what's going on in the background. I know everything that's going on. I've seen the invoices. I've seen that. I've asked for the prices on 1, 3, and 5. I want to know how to manage it. I don't want to know how to react to it. You're reacting. And right now you can throw me a stone and say, well, they didn't do that today. I don't care. I want to manage it. And I don't want to be yelling at you. I want you to understand you're not managing it. You're reacting to it. There's a big difference. I know my facts, mate. So don't come and tell me. I've seen it. I've gone to the effort of doing that. So please, listen to what I'm saying to you. I'm actually trying to improve the management. I'm not wanting to throw a stone at you, James. And I can hear in the words you use, well, I told him to hold the airbag open. No, you don't hold the airbag open. You don't choose it until you know whether it's a 1, 3, or 5. Or it's 2. And I know that we got 6 airbags when we shouldn't have. And I also know that I've got draft POs that I shouldn't have. I don't want any of that stuff. I'm just telling you. Do you understand my point? I'm not having a go at you. I'm wanting to manage it. And I'm not having a go at Pal either. The truth is we had a clusterfuck, right? And you know, you did a great job on that, but now we need to improve it. The problem's not at our end, James. The problem's at their end, and you're reacting to their end. You're not managing it. Do you understand my point now? When they don't manage it, and when you go in there and say it, you don't have nearly the weight I do, right? When I ring them, they crap themselves. When you ring them, oh, it's James. You're just like one of those guys. I'm like Darren to those guys. Understand the difference? You've got to use that clout. You've got to use that and know that you're doing it and know that we're supporting you. You've got to manage it and saying, well, they didn't do that. Well, the thing to do is shoot an email and say, look, they didn't consolidate the airbags. You can CC me in on to Melissa, but we have to do it because make no mistake, we're going to get more airbags. Our air freight's going to go through the roof. You and I both know that. And I have no issue at all with you buying $20 worth of adapters from PAL and getting them the next day because it makes good sense if we have a consolidated air freight policy. Do you understand my point?
Which was, yeah.
It's not exactly what you did, James. Get it out of your head and tell me you're going to manage it better.
I will manage it better, but it was, that was the words I used.
No, James.
I'll get it out of my head and I'll do it that way.
I saw the result. I don't like the result, and I'm being very direct and very urgent with you.
And neither do I.
Okay. Well, I'm doing something about it, and I'm using my clout to get it done. Right.
Wow.
And I will know what a 1, 3, and 5 kilo airbag costs. I won't be saying to you, oh, James, it could be $5 different. I will tell you what it is, and then I'm going to make sure I manage it. You're not managing it, you're reacting to it. That's my point. And if I'm committed to you being a great manager, that's what I'm committed to. And I'm committed not to pull any punches on it. This was poorly managed, and it's got to get better. And when you actually hear what I'm saying to you, I actually do think that PAL's made a lot of mistakes in this, not you. You're just reacting to it. You're not managing it. Do you see my point now? I'm not really interested in what they do. I'm interested in what I want them to do and how I get it, how I go about getting it. You understand my point?
Yep.
The only person I've raised my voice to in this whole thing is you, because I got to smack you to say, stop defending what you can't defend. There's no point defending it, James. There's a problem. Would you agree there's a problem?
And I've not had a chance to manage it.
Yeah. Would you agree there's a problem? Yes or no?
Yes, I would.
Okay. Would you agree it has to be managed?
Correct, yes.
Okay. The first starting point is I don't ever want to see a draft PO again. Either it's a purchase order or it's not. You understand?
Yep.
And if you have 10 or 15 POs, I don't care. Even if they're one after the other 5 minutes apart, I don't care. You still got to manage it. You've got to be able to allocate to where it's going. That's what we're in the process of doing. That's why we have zero stock. The reason why we have so much problem with our stock is we have very poor stock control. We have reactive control. I want to get into a proactive regenerative control. That's what I want. And it's going to take hard work. And I'm going to drag people kicking and screaming. You're the least of my worries. Do you understand my point?
Yep.
All right. James, don't take it personally. Take it as we've got to manage this better. All right. I really am not having a go at you. I'm giving you management positions. All right.
Yep.
Chris, how do you feel? What do you take away?
Thank you. How I feel, I'm very appreciative that we're having these meetings again. I think they're important, but I also think that they're not necessarily enough for us to really have a high level of situational awareness in what's going on. I can really only speak from the things that I have control over and the things that I have experience with. And so I'll tell you the reason why I switched over to using a lot of these different systems to manage the information that we had was because it simply wasn't being utilized, right? And so moving over to systems like Slack and Confluence and Jira and using the AI to look at the information, to me, was a means in which we could actually start utilizing quite a rich foundation of information we have and create a record for retaining that information. And I really make the point that inevitably an organization's information is stored through text, right? There's really not a lot of way around it. Video is an okay way to do it, but the problem with video is it fails to be searchable fast enough to really identify what's required. And that's why really IT's made this shift towards having a greater degree of transparency through creating more records and more information. But the real underlying objective in that is not to increase the work, not increase the amount of work required to create that level of knowledge retention, right? And I think that's available today. So I really make the point from this meeting is I think as we're moving towards our goals, I think we need to find ways to integrate these technologies to not create more work, but to increase our situational awareness and have greater access to information. Past that, there are some things to me which must be addressed. I don't think they need to be addressed now. Perhaps having the meeting tomorrow, I'll talk about it then, or even on Monday, I'll talk about it. But there are things that we need to identify what we're going to do with them. So how I feel is it's a good start. That's how I feel and what I take away. James, how do you feel? What do you take away?
Yeah, I feel that we do need the meetings. I think we're looking at too many things in the past. We need to look to the future and how we're going to implement some of those things. Looking at this list, I know we haven't been through it, but a lot of those things are, we need to just move forward, and we need to attend to those. Zero stock is working. There are some things we need to address. And I think that everything is moving in the direction we want. Communication is one of the biggest downfalls of any failing business or building business. So we do have to get our communication correct, and we have to communicate in the manner that is necessary for the business. So I see that we are on the edges of moving forward the way that we need to be. We do need to kick a few butts, which we'll be doing. But apart from that, I think that getting the meetings back on board is a necessity. And I think we probably need to look at the clarity of what we're looking at and what is important that we're looking at, rather than looking at a has-been. Kelly, how do you feel and what do you take away?
Okay. I tend to agree with Chris, except for one thing. Recordings, audio and video recordings, will become equally as searchable as any text database. And the fact that it's not here right now, or it's here right now and it's not as efficient, is not really what's concerned to me. What's concerned to me is what will I search? And the point that I'm making about the fact that I don't want draft invoices, I don't want to search draft invoices. I want our POs or invoices, for that matter. I want to be able to search. And today, information and working with information is about its searchability. Where was it stored? How is it retrieved? And how is it it's aggregate, re-aggregate, store, and retrieve. So how do we re-aggregate the information? And that's why I'm so hard on you on the draft PO, because it's the aggregation of the information. And I see it, and I'm the guy that watches the administrative side of the business, the service side of the business, the sales side of the business. I'm the guy that integrates most of it. And when I listen to what's going on, the fact is I'm really quite pleased with this meeting. I'm quite pleased where we're at. That's the fact. It doesn't stop me from saying it's not where I want to be, because it's not. And searchable information is the future. And so what we have to do, what Chris showed us today is great. What we're doing with zero stock is actually quite good. James, the decisions that you've made were reactive decisions. I want you to be way more proactive in the decisions that you get to make, which means that you won't be under so much pressure. But right now, we've got to get there. So how do I feel? I actually feel quite good about what's going on. Where I'm at is just dissatisfied with the progress, and I can see it because we react too much, we don't manage. And I see the more we react, the more we're getting into reacting. And so we've got to stop that. That's why, in a lot of ways, James, that's why I started screwing up your adapters file. That's why I went in there and said, no, this has got to change. So I changed it. Now, I'll change it again and again and again until it gets managed properly, because it gets managed by reaction, not by management. We must, and we're going to really take this to where it's supposed to be and where it could be with all the sophistication we have. It's got to be through management, not through reaction. It's not about service, you guys. It's about how we manage it and then how we serve with our management. All right, so we're 20 minutes late, and I apologize, James. James, I really want to get to you. I'm not having a go at you. I'm actually saying we've got to change it, and somehow you've got to accept, and I got to accept that you're able to get into. Chris, can you stop sharing your screen so we can? We've got to get into a situation where we don't take it personally. It's not personal to me, James. I actually think you're doing a way better job than you were last year. Way, way better. And maybe I need to say that first. But again, we can't react the way we're reacting. We've got to manage it. And that's my real point. That's what you should leave this meeting with. Not that I have any level of dissatisfaction. I actually understand this is what it takes to get something done. And I want you to hear, I don't like excuses. I don't want to make an excuse myself. And I sure as hell don't like excuses made to me personally. I'd rather just say, look, okay, I'll take it on board. Now you've taken on board what I've said about no more draft POs, because we can issue so many POs and we can trace them. We can do what Chris is doing. We can re-aggregate them later dates, but we need to be able to trace stuff so we can be better managers. So you can be better informed when you're talking to guys. I want you to be a manager. I don't want you to be a slave to this thing. Right now, we're all slaves. You understand my point?
Yep.
James, that's really where I'm coming from. I really want you to get that. I really do think you've made some great improvements. Right? And let's just keep making them. We got a long way to go, but we've got a good start. All right, so thank you to everyone for that, and I'll talk to you later. Thank you, Chris. Chris, I really liked what I saw too, by the way.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, catch you later. Bye.
Bye-bye.